Right off the bat, I'm going to establish that I'm not going to compare this show to Game of Thrones. Now, as far as the actual Witcher lore goes, I've never read the books. I played some of Witcher 3 on PS4, so I'm judging this show purely on its own merits. You know, I'm sure the book fans are like, fucking Dragonhaber's beard was long and gray in the books, and in the show he's got like a mustache and a sailor cap or whatever, so I wouldn't know any of that shit. I'm gonna recap and review the first half of season 1. Okay, so episode 1, the ends beginning. The show starts out and Henry Cavill is fighting a CGI monster, and the CGI is decent, and he heads into town, and you find out that normal townspeople don't like witchers, and that's what he is. So it's kind of like that stupid dynamic, you know, where humans live in an actual world with real monsters and witchers fight them, but the people are still shitty towards them. You know, it's like, oh, witchers, and it's like, they're fucking saving you from monsters. Now, my main issue with the show is that everyone has these fucking insane contact lenses, so if that's something that bugs you, you're just gonna have to get over it, because seriously, anyone with contact lenses looks fucking crazy. Right? Superman looks crazy, the actress who plays Siri looks crazy, this guy looks crazy, although possibly less crazy. You know, sometimes dudes with darker skin and lighter eyes can be quite striking, you know, kind of like Dr. Jackson Avery from Grey's Anatomy. I mean, the guy from Detroit Become Human. Anyway, so Geralt meets this princess who is cursed, and Mads Mikkelsen's brother, looking like Shakespeare's dad, wants Geralt to kill her, but then she wants Geralt to kill him, and he's like a wizard or something, and he lives in this place with a magic door filled with naked chicks, so I was fine with it. Anyway, she hypnotizes some assholes, and Geralt kills them, and then that bit was actually pretty decent because it was a cool fight scene. He was sticking swords in dudes and stuff. Then he kills her, and then the townsfolk tell him to get out of there. Meanwhile, we meet Ciri with her fucking contact lenses, and she's the princess of Sintra. And that night, their kingdom gets attacked and defeated by Nilfgaard, and her kind of warrior queen grandma detours out the window, and earlier her husband took an arrow to the face. So their court druid dude helps Ciri escape, and his name is Mouse Sack. When she's outside, she gets picked up by that weird-looking dude from Twin Peaks Season 3, and then she does this scream thingy and gets away because she's got powers. This fucking thing falls and this crack opens up. Anyway, and before that, her grandma told her to find Geralt of Rivia. So that's who fucking Henry plays. So now we're on to episode 2, and this is where we meet Yennefer. She's all just in the shit, and she's all twisted with a hunchback and stuff, and the show wants you to believe that she's not some hot actress, but her costume and performance is she's all that. You know, where there's a nerd girl who's clearly a hot girl, but they just put glasses on her and go look at the nerd, you know? In this case, they make her walk with a limp, shoved cotton balls in her cheek or whatever, and gave her this terrible wig. Anyway, it doesn't matter because in the next episode, she gets magical plastic surgery and becomes a babe. So anyway, her dad, he's a prick, and he sells her for $4, and this wizard teacher lady takes her to this castle on the water to train to be a mage or something. She teleports and meets this guy with the contact lenses and a modern haircut, and then becomes friends, and then we find out that she's 1/4 elf, and the humans don't like elves in this universe. And then meanwhile, Ciri is still looking crazy, and she finds this boy in the woods and then a refugee camp, and then meets this boy who delivers some really lethargic dialogue.
Your cloak. My father made it. You look like you've been through hell.
I killed them all. My brother got an arrow in the brain.
Come, meet my family.
And meanwhile, Geralt meets this minstrel dude in a bar who wants to follow him around and deliver meta jokes.
You know, the elves called this Dol Blathana before bequeathing it to the humans and retreating into their golden palaces in the mountains. There I go again, just delivering exposition.
And while they're walking along, they get attacked by some freak named Torque. And I couldn't tell if it was makeup or weird CGI or a combination, but it was really off-putting to look at. And then they exchange some interesting dialogue.
What happened with you motherfucker goat?
I am Torque, the Sylvan, a rare and intelligent creature.
You're a dick.
Then the girls who are practicing to be mages, they go into this weird cave and they have to capture lightning in a bottle. And then Yennefer throws an electricity ball and then learns some lesson about not succumbing to your emotions, which I guess will pay off later. So now Geralt and his bard friend, they're tied up and they meet an elf king where we get some exposition about the history of the elves and the humans. And so I guess elves were the magic users, and then they taught the humans the magic, and then the humans turned on them. Anyway, they play this dramatic music, like the elf guy is gonna fucking kill Geralt, but he clearly isn't, and so they get freed. And then it turns out that Jackson Avery is being used as a spy for Stregobor, who was that wizard guy from the first episode. Then at the refugee camp, Twin Peaks forces attack, and then the dwarf with the boots stabs that old lady I never told you about. But it's okay, because like the old lady was like mean to him.
Don't worry, he's one of the clean ones.
And then Ciri's got to get the fuck out of town, and so she just fucking runs away. Then the wizard teacher lady turns some of those magic chicks into piles of clothes, and I was like, what the fuck? But then it turned out she's actually turning them into eels that like power the castle with magic. And then She's All That is like trying to smile and not let the cotton fall out of her mouth. Then we're on episode 3 now. That one's called Betrayer Moon. So at the start, there's some guy with dirty teeth who's talking about getting attacked by some monster, and we meet a different Witcher who gets paid to take it out, but then he dies in the next scene like a chump. And the fucking people are all pissed off because they paid him in advance. Later, Geralt learns about the monster situation from some hooker in a cabin. I don't know where the bard is in this episode because he just wasn't in it. So the Witcher shows up while these miners are considering some sort of revolution. Then the Witcher meets up with this sorceress who wants to save the werewolf. I mean, it's not a werewolf, it's some other monster, but anyway, it turns out it's a Striegr, which is a mutant human that's like cursed or some shit. Then these two go at it while some illusion of old people like watches them. Anyway, then Yennefer meets the Shakespeare dude who makes dresses in this ring of fire. He's there to like make all the mage ladies like look nice when they leave. And then we cut to a classic, and this is one of my favorite tropes, is the angry king who grossly eats chicken and looks like Rich Evans from Red Letter Media. So there's some weird incest shit going on, and then this one dude loved that king's sister and cursed her, so her kid is the monster or something. And then Geralt is like, lift the curse, and the guy's like, no, and then Geralt like punches him in the head. Yennefer has a fight with Detroit and gets all pissed off, and then she goes to Shakespeare to give her some plastic surgery. Geralt fights the Striegr chick and throws these chains around her, and then he does his catchphrase.
Fuck.
And then when the sun comes up, the curse is lifted, and then Yennefer shows up to the ball looking hot, and everyone's like, damn, and Buddy's like, I could have been banging that, and like you see just the look on his face. And then we haven't even seen Ciri all episode, and then she walks in to some weird forest, and her buddy gets hit by an arrow, and he's an elf, by the way. His hat fell off, so you see he's got like the pointy ears, and that's where that one ends. And then episode 4 starts right from where the last one left off, so Ciri's walking through the forest, and then a bunch of like warrior women with spears show up. I actually thought this forest set looked cool, but the place is called Broccolin Forest, and so every time they say that word, it just sounds like broccoli to me.
You are in Broccolin Forest.
Broccoli. She's turning into broccoli.
Now the plot twist. So the whole time I've been saying meanwhile is because the stories we've been watching have not been taking place at the same time. And the Witcher stuff we've been watching actually takes place like years before all this Ciri stuff. And then we find out why the fighter queen told Ciri to find Geralt from episode 1. Then there was this quick line of dialogue I almost missed. That's like, oh, by the way, it's 30 years later in Yennefer's storyline.
And I really, really love that instead I've gotten to spend the last 3 decades cleaning up stupid political messes.
Anyway, but she's the mage for some queen, and then everyone's dead because some assassin is coming at her with like a giant crab spider thing, and he's trying to kill her because she didn't have a male heir for the king. And then we go back to the castle, and they're trying to find a husband for the princess, and then this porcupine guy shows up and says he wants to marry her and invokes the law of surprise, and they don't really explain it, and then all of a sudden this fight breaks out. But I guess it's like if you save someone's life, you say law of surprise, fucker, and then like years later they owe you something, but they don't know what they owe you yet. I don't know, it's... Yennefer goes on this portal chase trying to save the queen, but then it turns out the queen is a shitty mom and gives the baby up like as a sacrifice, but the wizard dude fucking whips his dagger at her anyways. Yennefer tries to save the baby, but the dude whips another dagger and takes the baby out, and then Yennefer just monologues to the dead baby for the rest of the show. Now the queen doesn't want her daughter to marry Sonic, so she goes to stab him, but then the princess screams and then they fly up in a tornado. And then Mousesack tries to do some magic, and Geralt drinks this like some anti-tornado potion and like reaches into the twister to get the fuckers down. The queen calms down, she marries them, and then the porcupine curse is lifted, and the guy's like, thanks, Witcher, and then Henry Cavill's like, no problem, I'm out of here, and the guy's like, no, I really want to thank you. And so jokingly Superman's like, well, well, how about the law surprise, you fucking idiot? And he goes to walk away, and then right at that moment, the princess has like morning sickness, and everyone's like, shit. I don't know if that means Geralt has to like babysit the kid or something. I also love that she throws up after being in a hurricane, and everyone's first reaction is, oh, she's pregnant? You know, like, I mean, if I was up in a tornado and fucking making out with a porcupine man, I'd be like throwing up all over the place. In fact, there was a lot of ladies throwing up in this episode. Anyway, then we cut to the future, and some weird mages do this weird complicated spell by cutting the dead queen's skin, and then Mr. Robot eats it, and then the guy gets opened up so that the mage chick can disembowel him and find out where Ciri is by touching the intestines. Anyway, and then her and Twin Peaks find out that Ciri's in Broccoli Forest. And then Ciri drinks some forest acid, and she sees a tree, and the tree's like, what up? And then the episode ends. I have no idea what it means. So the bottom line is, I think the show is fine. I'm going to watch more. I think I'm invested in the storyline. I kind of want to see how they all converge. My overall impression so far is that the costume design is a little Renaissance fair. I think with these kind of fantasy shows, there's always some cheesiness that can make the overall thing feel cheaper than it needs to. But I think everyone is okay. I wouldn't say the performances are strong, but everything is serviceable. So far I give it like a 6.5, 7. I think it's fine. Nothing stands out as being really great, and nothing stands out as being really terrible, right? You know, like if someone said they liked the show, I'd be like, yeah, I understand that. Not if like someone says they like Full House and you're like, yeah, but not really, right? And if they're like, no, I really like Full House, and you're like, but ironically, right? And so like with The Witcher, if someone said, hey, I like The Witcher, I'd be like, yeah, I get how you could like this show. And I think my favorite part of this show is that Geralt's catchphrase is him sighing and saying fuck. Like, that's seriously his catchphrase. He does it once an episode and it's awesome.
Fuck. 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 Oh, fuck. Oh, fuck.
Anyway, that's it. I'll review the rest of the season soon. I guess it's more of a recap than a review. Well, it's kind of a review at the end. And don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel. We'll be putting out more video content this year, and if you like the kind of music that's been playing in the background, you can check out the artist links in the description. And check out the Beyond Synth podcast, where every week since 2013, I've been having fun chats with artists and producers in and around the synthwave scene, and listen to lots of awesome new music. And that's what we do over there. So all the links are in the description. And thanks for watching. And yep.